This hangout is live. Wow. It's great to have you here today. We're excited. We're pumped up. And we're going to talk about the new book today. And I got the red on just to get a little flair in there. Got some meetings today. So the Hawaiian shirt probably isn't going to work today. But, you know, some days it works, some days it don't. When you wrote a book where you're sitting on the beach, who cares, right? I'm excited to be here today as we talk about what's your excuse. And I think what I want to ask you is, what is your excuse? What is your excuse today for not being at the top of your game, for not being at the top of your market, for not being the best there is at what you do? There is no excuse. Now, the second side of that is, what's your excuse today for not making a lot of money, for not having tremendous success? Well, there is no excuse again. And that's kind of what the book alludes to. So I want to get right there. I just want to do a couple of housekeeping tasks before we fire that off and let you know we're here every Friday from 12 to 12:30, from noon to 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we're here. So if you're out on the West Coast, if you're in Australia, if you're somewhere else in the world, we're here every week consistently to give you 30 minutes of something that's relative to help you in being more successful. We do a lot of work on sales. We do a lot of work on leadership. And today we're doing about an issue about what's your problem. And really what we're going to talk about today is 3 factors that are tremendously important to you, which is persistence, consistency, and self-discipline. And if you saw our newsletter this week, you got a chapter from the book. You got to see what it's like. We did not, however, put the exercises in there. If you want the exercises, the keys that are going to take, you know, we'll teach you something. Now we're going to help you apply it. Then you got to buy the book. And come on, the book is $6. Get $6 out, get a copy. And if, you know, as all our products, if you're not satisfied, get back to me, okay? We guarantee our stuff. Our stuff is all 100% good to help you to be more and more successful at whatever you do in life. So let's, let me see. Yeah, let's start. And, you know, we're going to start. Let me throw the cover out there just so everybody knows what we're talking about. Yeah, there we go. Let's blow that up a little bit. And then we'll see if we can share it today. I got way too many buttons here, I think. Okay, so this is the book we're talking about. Wow, how come that didn't blow up the way I wanted it to? Interesting. But anyhow, there's the book. What's your excuse? Everyone's got one and they all stink. And I can thank my friend Steve for that great title. Winning means being consistent, persistent, and self-discipline. No matter what you're doing, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whether it's ministry, doesn't make any difference. You know, these are the 3 key ingredients that are going to help you in being totally successful at whatever you do. So let's not forget them, but let's talk about them a little bit. And in the book, let me bring the book up here. And let's see, I'm just reviewing my notes here because I really would usually like better if somebody else is running the, you know, when we do the thing on the book, but there's not anybody else here today. So what's your excuse? And I really think that's important for you to understand. There is no excuse. And people are always looking for excuse. The reason most people don't have the success that they could have is because of A, B, C, D. You know, they can rattle it off. If you ask somebody, why aren't you the CEO? Why aren't you the leader in your industry? Why aren't you there? They can always tell you why. But none of that works because there really isn't an excuse. If you want it, the only excuse I think is that you haven't mentally yet put it out there so you can make it happen. So that's what we're going to try to do, is try to help you today. Please get a copy of the book. As I said, it's $6. out on Amazon. We really would like you to have it, read it, and work with it. So let's start. So the book is really divided into those three pieces. We talk about consistency, we talk about persistence, and then we talk about self-discipline. And kind of as an introduction, and I'll use my a great mentor of mine was Zig Ziglar. I followed most of his stuff. I probably read all of his stuff, seen I don't know how much of his video, but he said very simply, seek a solution to the problem, not someone to blame. If you're going out and you're saying, you're coming up with an excuse, okay, that means you're trying to find someone to blame. Who cares? Let's get an answer to the problem. Let's find a solution, and let's move on. So I thank Zig for those great words of wisdom. So these three critical pieces, let's take a look at each one for a moment and try to understand it, and then we'll go into some more detail. What I want to do is try to go through one chapter and maybe a couple of exercises in each area if we can get that far today. So consistency means what? Consistency really is you got to do it each and every day, day in, day out, over and over and over again. The same thing every day. I read, I make calls, I save money, I do this, whatever it is, day in, day out. And the success comes from that, not because you're doing it, but because you're doing it every day, every week, every month, whatever the time frame is. The consistency creates the success. And if you go out, you can watch one of my the most popular video by far that I've done is on consistency. And I always try to understand, why are people so interested in this? Because that's the breakdown. Think about it. If you're not consistently doing it, what's happening? Okay, if you're making calls on, oh, maybe I'll make some today, maybe I'll make some tomorrow, maybe I make some. That doesn't work, does it? Maybe I'll put some money away this month, maybe I'll put some money in next month, and then when vacation time comes or Christmas comes or whatever the holiday, you don't have the money. Why? Because you didn't consistently follow your plan. Same thing with your goals. Why aren't you achieving your goals? Because your goal says, I got to do this and this and this every day, this every month, and you don't do it. But if you do it, that's when you hit the success. And that's what consistency really is about. Now, persistence means you got to keep going, whether you feel like it or not. Consistency is more about doing it every day. Persistent means, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. And you know, the number one word you got to get rid of out of your vocabulary, cut them out of your dictionary, is feel like. Who cares what you feel like? I don't care if all the advertising on the TV and everywhere else talks about you got to feel, you got to feel good, you got to feel right. It's got to feel for you. Forget it. Success doesn't come by feeling good. Success comes by being persistent. Success comes, you know, I was reading these great old stories from guys like W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill. And the story was just like that. I think it was Clement Stone was telling the story on one of his videos. He says, well, I was trying to make these numbers and I wanted to make the vacation club, and it was the last day and it was well after 10 o'clock at night, and I was still pounding because I needed another sale. And that, my friend, is persistence. How many of you are that persistent in making your sales goal? I was talking to a client the other day, and he said, who was struggling somewhat with some of his salespeople, and he says, you know, I used to be a salesperson, and it was unacceptable for me not to make my quota. Unacceptable. I wouldn't even think about it. Now, not that it didn't happen once, but I wouldn't think about it. I would hustle, I would move, I would just drive. And that's what you should be doing. If you're looking for that, that's what I look for. When I want a sales rep, I don't want a sales rep who tells me, well, I tried. Tried isn't good enough. Even, I don't care what all this stuff says out there today. Tried isn't good enough. You got to make it. If you got a quota, bang, you got to make that quota. And, you know, we got to be hard on ourselves. That's where persistence comes. It also comes through coaching, but I can't be as hard on anyone as they can be on themselves. And that's what I want you to understand. So that's kind of persistence. So we have this thing, you're doing that stuff every day, you're pushing yourself, and then self-discipline is nothing more than action. Stop thinking about it. Do you know how many people think about what they're going to do, but they don't do it? And self-discipline means I have enough to go and do it. I'm going to do it each and every day. So those three principles are the core to this book. And just so you understand, the book really came out of Double Your Sales. I was looking for something to end the Double Your Sales book with, a couple final lectures in that series. And I put together something on consistency, persistence, and self-discipline. I said, wow, this should be a book by itself. And it was. So the book is really a collection of the best pieces that have come out of the last 10 years. So we only found a few, and we put them in there, and we hope it's going to be powerful for you. But the real power in the tool, I want to tell you, the reason you're going to buy the book, because a lot of the articles and stuff have been out there, will continue to be out there. You buy the book for the exercises, because the exercises are never going to be anywhere but in the book. And the exercises are the key elements of what you got to do. So I teach you something, now you got to do it. And that's what we tried to get the book to be. All right, anybody can talk about persistence, consistency, and self-discipline, but how do I do it? How do I do it on a consistent basis, right? All right, so let's get started. And what I want to do is, how about, first thing I talk about is consistency. And we really just kick off chapter 1, and we'll go there. We'll do a little bit on chapter 1. And chapter 1 was really about consistency means just that. The consistent sales rep will outsell everyone over the long run simply because he or she is consistent. And that's the way we jump into the book. And I want you to understand that the consistency is what makes the difference. You know, if you're a sales rep out there, you know, you battle against these people. They bring in the big deals. They're on top one week, and on the next week, they don't have any business. But you're pounded, and you're pounded, and week in, week out. And when the end of the year comes, guess who's the #1 salesperson? You are. Why? Because you've been consistent. So what I need you to think about doing, and we'll get there in a little bit, but just so you understand, consistency means what I want you to do, and after we're done here, I want you to put this together for me, okay? And that is, and while we're going through this, I want you to think about it, is what are the things that I have to do every day, or every work day if it's work related, to make me successful? What are the things? Do I have to make calls? Do I have to do certain reports? Do I have to do certain prospecting? What is it that I have to do every day? And the same thing, what is it that I have to do every week? And then what is it I have to do every month? So just put that in the back of your mind. We'll get there at the back of this particular lesson. So let's talk about a couple things with consistency. Consistency starts one day at a time. Now, for you multitaskers out there, and I know there's some of you, because last time I beat up on the multitaskers in one of these things, I got a lot of grief about it, and I'm used to it because my wife thinks she's a multitasker, and she is pretty good at it, but I still try to tell her multitasking is not a reality. You can still do one thing, and there's a great book out there called One Thing, and you need to get that book because it really shows you how when you focus on a single thing, success is tremendous. Success just happens. Why? Because you're focused. And what am I going to focus on? You know, I often think the only thing I should focus on is teaching webinars. And, you know, we thought about that. Maybe this is all we're going to do. Day in and day out, a different webinar out there every day. But I don't know. We'll think about that. But it's one thing. It is starting one, consistency starts one day at a time. So when I stopped smoking, okay, that was one of the things. And you know, I'm at the brink of going back to smoking after a few weeks. And, you know, those of you who have dealt with that habit, I've been out of that well over 20 years now. But those of you who dealt with that habit know what it's like. And it's like, oh, no, I got just one. I'm just going to try. Or drinking, you know, it's not. But I dealt with it, and I was struggling with the thing. And my friend who was an recovering alcoholic really gave it to me. And he said, just stop smoking for today. And those simple words gave me the ability to consistently stop smoking one day at a time. So if you have a habit that you need to pick up or get rid of, let's say you're struggling making your cold calls. You just aren't making them. Why not? Okay, who cares? Let's figure out today is Friday. We'll start with Monday. How am I going to make phone calls on Monday? And just Monday. Let's just concentrate on Monday. How am I going to make these calls on Monday and do them Monday? Then deal with Tuesday. Yeah. And then deal with Wednesday. One day at a time. And watch, when you get to next Friday and you're on my call, and please message in when you're there and tell me, I did it, Manny. It worked. Okay. Second thing about consistency, it is a gut thing. And it is. You got to feel it way down here. You got to make that personal commitment that every day I'm going to do this. Every day I'm going to do whatever I need to be successful in this area. When I was in the Marine Corps, right? We talked about this, and bang, I did it every day. I had to bust my chops for 90 days of boot camp, but we did it. Third thing is, once you commit to something, nothing less is acceptable. Remember I was talking about the quota and dealing with a client? Nothing else is acceptable. When I deal with salespeople, I say, all right, let's do your quota. All right, here's your quota. You think you can make $1 million this year. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to cut it back to 800,000. Now go do it. And they go out and they do 600. And I said, you said you were going to do $1 million. Why? Because they're accepting less. When I went to lower their quota, she said, I don't want you to lower my quota, man. I want you actually to up it. I'm not accepting anything less than $1 million. That's what I'm doing this year, period. How about you? Have you got that drive to do that? We're not talking about average here. We're not talking about getting by. If you're listening to this program, you're part of the super team. You're part of the people who want to rock this world, who want to make a difference, who want to double their sales and triple their sales and double them again and again. That's the success. If you just want to lay back and be average, you ought to turn us off, because that's not what we're about. All right. So the first exercise is exactly what I was talking about. I want you to find one thing that has been just driving you crazy. One thing that you haven't been able to do that you need to do daily. One thing, whether it's, I don't care what it is, calls, reports, prospecting, hitting the road, whatever it is. One thing, and I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. And I want you to commit that you are going to do this. And cold calls is probably one of the things. If you're a salesperson out there, let's try that one, because it's probably the one thing. And you all know, I don't care what all the media and everybody else out there talking to you is trying to tell you. Everyone out there knows that cold calls are the one thing I hate to do. I had one great rep that worked for me who was a superstar there. But other than that, people just don't get there. So just commit. And I don't care if it's 10 calls, 20 calls, 30 calls every day next week. But don't commit to every day. Commit to doing them Monday. And then go on to there. Now you can see that what we do in each chapter in this book, and it's so important, is we show you something and then we make you do it. And there's, I think, 11 or 12 chapters. What I want you to do, if you get a hold of the book, is I want you to read it through and just get a feel for the book. And then I want you to go back and I want you to work one chapter a week over the next 3 months and watch what happens. And it might take you 6 months, because you might be working this chapter's exercises and you might say, I need to get even better and better. Superstars is what we build here on Coach Manny's program, right? All right, let's talk about persistence. And I'm going to jump further into the book here. I think we did. Okay, and in chapter 5, let's skip to chapter 5 a minute, where we went into persistence. And persistence means going on and on and on and on and on till you make it work. And nothing and no one is going to stop me. I'm going to work until I get 10 new clients this month, and nobody and nothing, and I don't care who you are, what you do, nothing is going to stop me. That's persistence, isn't it? Got a couple quotes here. It's not easy to keep going when you can't see those intermediate results. And most people give up sooner than they should. Great quote from Napoleon Hill. Most people give up, but not you, because you are a superstar. And I am just talking way too much today. So if we don't get through everything today, man, we'll pick up again in the future when we talk about this book. And I really apologize, because this stuff is just meat for you. You know, I'm a big learner in God's word. And, you know, in there they talk about, you know, you start with milk like kids, and then you graduate to meat, into something that's stronger and will make you even stronger. And so I hope that you really are ready for this meet, but I know you guys and gals are. All right, don't settle for less than what you really want in life, in anything you do. I need you to get your hands around that and grab it. And I need you to make it part of who you are each and every day. I'm not accepting anything less, Manny. I'm going for the gold. This is what I want. And once you do that, you are unstoppable. Joyce Meyer puts it very well in the quote that I used in the book, which is, refuse to settle for anything less than everything God has for you, period. There's a great story in the Bible about talents, and there's a lot to the story, but the simple point is, take your talents and multiply them, use them and use them. You may only have one talent, but it may be all you need, or you may have more. And there's a story of a person, one talent in the Bible, about what they did was they took their one talent, they buried it. And how many people do you know who bury their skills in the ground instead of exercising them and go for it? When you encounter the forks in the road, let's talk a minute about forks, because this is where I need persistence. I need persistence when I get to those forks. And every time I get to a fork, I can go left or right. And oh, look at this. This is wide open. It's an easy road. I can easily just sit down and do some emails, right? But look at that road over there. That means I got to go out in my car and bang on doors or whatever. Which road am I going to take? The hard road. But it's going to make you a lot more money in the long run. Now, there's two journeys you're on as a professional out there. As a salesperson, as a leader, it doesn't matter. Two journeys, a mental journey and a physical journey. And if you don't win the mental journey, then you're not going to make it in the physical journey. Everything you see that you want, everything you're going to accomplish out there, you got to first see it right here. You got to visualize it. You got to see it. And then you'll see some success. Now, we got a lot more. I'm going to skip through the rest of this chapter and just get down here, because I want to give you a little bit more flavor for the exercises that we have in these chapters. And in this chapter, the exercises are you ready to be persistent in work, to work in your life? Are you ready? So what we ask you to do is, again, take that thing that you said in chapter 1, and now I want you to say, what do I got to do? What are the things that maybe are holding me back? I do it every day, but I'm not strong enough. How can I be more persistent? You know, most people stop 5 feet from the top of the mountain. Not you, though, right? You keep right on going. And I want you to think about what another exercise in this chapter is. Think about forks that you've encountered recently, and which road have you taken? It's so easy. And if you watch a lot of TV, you're probably taking a light road because it's easy. And everybody tells you, oh, that's so easy. Forget easy. You're watching the wrong show if you want easy. All right. I just want to do a moment here. And the reason I'm running through here is because I want to do something real quick on self-discipline. So I'm going to skip down here to chapter 9, which talks about self-discipline. At least I'm going to try to get there. Isn't it weird watching me on the screen there as I'm watching my computer here? Some of you I know are saying, what? So chapter 9 talks about some simple tips to create greater discipline in your life. And I think we did this one. We put this one up as an article. I think we did. But how many of you have a schedule? Here's the biggest discipline. It's not having a schedule. The biggest discipline issue is sticking to the schedule. A lot of people have schedules out there, but few of them stick to the schedule. That's the key. Can you create a schedule for today and stick to it? No, I get moved over here. I get banged over here. You're a pinball. And if you don't remember what a pinball is, that little machine with the silver ball, it gets banged all over the place. And you might be that. That might be your life day in and day out, especially some of you entrepreneurs listening out there. Get a hold of, this is what I'm going to do today. And unless something happens, I'm going to do it. Create some routines. And, you know, I'm like you. I hate routines, but success, especially if you're a salesperson, you have to have some routines. You can't just sporadically do stuff. Now, you see some sales reps out there trying to do that, and they create some limited success for a little while, but not tremendous success. Another thing on self-discipline, one of the most, probably, I don't know, it ranks right up there at the top. Learn how to say no. Those of you who want to be superstars, you must learn the words N-O. You must learn those two letters, N-O. No, I can't do this. And you know that old saying about if I need something done, I got to ask a busy person, and busy people are very successful, but you still got to learn. This is my focus. My focus is I'm hitting 125 or 150% of my quota. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm busting to. That's who I am, and nothing's stopping me. That don't mean you don't care about those around you. I don't mean that. I mean no to the things that are totally not necessary. We spend so much time in the not necessary that we never get to what's really important. So one of the exercises here, it shows you how to create a schedule for your life. And what I'm going to tell you is you need to sit down, whether it's Friday night before you leave or Sunday night before the week starts, and you just say, what do I need to get done this week? You need to write that down. You need to then break it by things, by categories, we call it. And then you need to say, okay, each night before the next day, not in the morning, before the next day, what is it I'm going to do tomorrow? What time frames I'm going to fill out. So when you get up, you are operating in total robotic mode. Consistently, you know what you're doing, when you're doing. Now, do things happen? Yes, they do. And like I teach people, if you work 10 hours a day, then you need to schedule 7.5 and leave 2.5 hours, 25% for things that can happen. Wow. All right, let me see if I can bring this up again. I can't. But anyhow, the book is What's Your Excuse? It's out there. We got it on Amazon. There's links out there on, we got it all over the place. If you're not seeing this book, I'm not doing my work. But I would love you to get yourself a copy and really take a look at it, because this is a tremendous piece for you. Stop hesitating. Stop thinking about it. You are a star, but you need to be consistent, persistent, and self-disciplined. Get a copy of the book. Have much success to you. We're here every Friday. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we will be here, and we will be talking about it. And even if I'm on vacation one week, we will run you a recording. So Fridays, 12 to 12:30, get on the show, watch us, get a copy of my book. get out there and create great success, because you're all listening and you're superstars. So go do it. This is Coach, as I tell you every week, from my great old friend who's passed, Burl Walk, who said, get out there and create a better world. Thank you.